Hey everyone, today I'm going to be creating cards for teenagers. As you can see here, favorite things for teenagers are music and maybe video gaming. And so if you can spot the common thread here, I'm going to create cards that focus on headphones. So they're pretty universal for teenagers, and you can create these cards with one paper pad, one die, and one stamp set. So very minimal supplies. I'm using a Paper Rose paper pad called Pixels and Blocks. It's A5 and you can cut it in half and do two card fronts at 5¼ by 4, which creates a nice white border around an A2 card, which is 5½ by 4¼ This is the Dynamics die that I've used, and I've popped it up here in the top left-hand corner. This is from My Favorite Things. The first thing I'm doing here, and I have this in 12 speed, is I'm just running through and I'm cutting the paper down, as I said, to the 5¼ by 4. I do end up with some little strips off the edge, but for the most part, I use the lion's share of the paper, and they create such bright and universal backgrounds. So anybody would love these color combinations, and they're going to work really, really well for the different colors of headsets that I create. I've included links to the products that I've chosen in the description box below. It's worth noting that you can use any bright coloured paper pad for this, and then if you're doing simple birthday cards, then any sentiment that you've got will absolutely work. The one thing that I think is very unique is the die cut from My Favorite Things. It is absolutely amazing, and the one thing that I would request of any crafting company is please do more things related to music. I would love to have instruments as dies, and even stamp sets that were guitars, and I don't think there's enough music. So more music, please, stamping companies. Next, I'm stamping out the sentiments. I'm using leftover white cardstock and a stamping block, and I've got my Onyx Black from VersaFine. And I'm literally just hand stamping these. What I find is if I use the MISTI for something fiddly, it takes longer than a stamping block. And even though some of these, I might stamp them a little bit wonky or I might press too hard, and there's a few that I need to throw away, for the most part, they're actually pretty quick to create. And I did edit it out of the video, but I just ran through and used my trimmer to cut them down into little rectangles. And here I'm just using my Bearly Art glue, and I'm just adding to the bottom quarter of the cards. Now, what I did find is that for some of the designs, they're quite light. So this one here, for example, has a pale background. So I matted a few of them onto black just so that they stand out a little bit more from the card panel. For each of the headphones, I need to pick two colors that will match together. Here's an example of a red and black headset. So I've decided to go through all of my scrap cardstock and find colors that would suit a headset. And you can see here on the screen, I've got the navy, the bright blue, the yellow, the pink, and then I've got two colors of green. Because a base of a headset is normally grey or black, I counted how many I had of the other colours, and then I did the same number in those base colours as well. I just felt like that would mean that when I got to the end, I wouldn't have any unusual colour combinations, or at least there was less of a risk of that. The first tip I'm going to give you is to keep one of the negative spaces and then attach that to anything, scrap of cardstock, whatever you need. It just means that you can pop in the base of the headset, and then you can use that as a guide to add the two bits to the side, which is the padding on the headset, and then the padding across the top. Now, in all of the MFT pictures, they actually align the padding at the top of the headset directly over the base. But in reality, when you look at a gaming headset, it actually is a little bit separated and the padding sits lower. So you'll notice in the pictures later that I'm offsetting this a little bit. So I'm putting the glue right down low on the black, and then I'm showing a little bit of the black across the top, because when you have a headset, that's what it looks like in real life. So it might look like I'm misaligning, but I'm actually doing that absolutely deliberately because it means that it looks a little bit more true. You can see that I've just laid it on the yellow. I'm just giving myself an idea of what the card's going to look like. I ran through and did loads of these. I made 48 cards today because there is 24 sheets of paper and I got 2 from each one. And I think I ended up with maybe about a dozen or so headsets left at the end. And I like to do that deliberately because I put them in my little spares pile. And when I'm doing either a card challenge or just trying to finish something off, I normally find a few things that when put together will create a nice and useful card. All right, so I'm running through here doing a few of the different color combinations, and you can see I'm already starting to pile up the black headsets with the blue extras and the black headsets with the yellow extras. When you're aligning these, there's like a little divot in the negative space, and I didn't realize it initially. So you can see this is taking me a little bit to fuss with it and really try and get them straight. Then I figured out after, I think maybe 6 or 7 of them, that when you put it in, it literally, you can tuck it into, I'm not describing this very well, but you can tuck it into where it fits perfectly, and you don't need to fiddle with aligning those little side pieces on top. Let's see if this is one of the ones where I've done it. This is the pink and grey, which is very, very cute. So aligning the top part first, and then with the bottom ones, I think if I click it in, yeah. So see how there I didn't fuss with it. I just sort of shimmied it to the right, and then I'm shimming it to the left. It sort of hits the edge of the negative space, and you know that it's aligned perfectly. These were really, really fun to create, and doing them bulk style meant that I got through them really, really quite quickly. If you're enjoying the video, it would be great if you could hit the like button. This is how YouTube decides to push the video out to more viewers, so it is super helpful for all content creators. Thank you so much in advance. In the top right hand corner of the screen, you can see I've already sorted the backing panels into color combinations. This just means once I've finished putting together all of these headsets, I can lay them all out and decide which color headset goes with which backing panel a little bit more easily. So it's just a little bit of planning up front makes the process a lot simpler. The first color combination that I'm going to work through here is the yellow, and I decide to just be really simple and put yellow on yellow. I'm not sure it's always the best choice, but for me, I didn't want to go too crazy with the color combinations. I wanted to leave them a little bit neutral, so this felt like a really safe place to start. You will notice that I am doing the panels that have the black as the base of the headset. This just means it stands out from the yellow panel. If I'd done the reverse, which was the yellow base layer with the black on top, then it would have blended in too much with the background. So just keep an eye on what you're using for the accents versus the backing layers. I'm sitting here fiddling with the blue ones, and I'm using a combination of, the greys and the blues and the blacks, and I'm sending myself in circles a little bit here. I'm also really conscious that blue is a really nice universal color, and so trying to figure out whether I use these on the card bases or save them for potentially using on one of the multicolor ones. And you see here I've done a bit of a hybrid. I've used, again, the ones with the black base layer on these pale blue, and I'm running through and gluing these down. You can see how quick it is. There is no fuss involved. A little bit of liquid glue and you're done. With these really dark blue ones, the yellow seemed to pop a little bit more. Now, I possibly could have used the ones that had the yellow as the base with the black accents on top, and that might have been better. Because as you saw me talking about before, the black does blend in quite a bit with the background. I think it looks worse on camera than it did off screen. So off screen, you can tell that it's a headset and you can see all of the different combinations. So here with the green, again, I'm sort of matching these up and trying to figure out, where can I use the pink? Is it possible to use a bit of a contrast? And I try and decide that I'm kind of not sure. There's a bit of indecision going on here, and you'll find that as I'm working through, if I think that I'm not sure how something will go, I will put it aside and I will come back later. And I do that quite often through this process. Those green ones at the top, you can see I've just sort of tucked them under my little tub there that has my leftover little pieces, and I'm running through and doing the ones that are obvious. You might have noticed that I just fixed one of the headsets then after I'd applied the liquid glue. I was finding that if I rushed too much, I kind of spread the headphones apart a little bit, which means they have a bit of an awkward angle. So I'm holding them at the very top and letting the headphones just hang. And because they're a little bit delicate, they will hang straight. And then when I'm attaching them to the cards, I didn't have any other problems after that. I just needed to be a little bit more careful with them. All right, so now's the fun part because I've got some of the mixed colors left. And I'm just running through and trying to figure out what's the best combination of colors. And with that, I mean, I don't necessarily want to put pink on pink for all of those. And so I'm looking at them trying to figure out, can I add the black and grey? What's the best combination? In the end, I decided to add some of the pink and grey to the bright multicolored backgrounds. And I think this really spread them out a little bit, which was kind of cool in the end. Do you have a go-to color combination when you're creating cards? I try and be really broad with the color combinations that I use because I donate almost all of my cards. I feel like, different people like different things. So if I do things that look great but aren't necessarily my first choice, they will be the first choice for other people. But I'm just wondering, is there like a go-to? Do you make a lot of blue cards, a lot of green cards? I tend to use bright colors quite a bit, not always, but I also really love blue. Although funnily enough, green's my favorite color. I don't know, maybe I like the whole rainbow. Okay, so I'm just running through now with these orange cards and I'm trying to figure out how to add just a little bit more interest and be a bit more bold, I think, with the colors that I put on top so they're not quite as much of a direct match. Now I'm getting onto these yellow and these ones with the yellow base, and they stand out enough against the orange. So I was really happy with this and how it worked out in the end. If you're looking for loads of crafting videos to watch over the holidays, I have made sure that I have created some playlists. And so you'll see lots of Christmas cards in a playlist or the different sheet loads templates that I've used. Lots and lots of different bulk card making playlists. So you might want to check those out under my YouTube profile. I am going to put a couple of links here to some videos that I think you might enjoy. Have a great day. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.